Hi there, this is Anna, and today my new video is about effective communication in English. Mainly, we're going to speak about how to talk to your clients in English so that they understand you and they like you, actually. It's very important. I'm going to share 5 tips on how to improve your communication in English with your clients. Tip number 1, when you talk to your clients, make sure you're happy. Make sure you smile and you are nice. Nobody wants to talk to a person who is grumpy or sad, who has poker face, no emotions whatsoever. That is why whenever you're having a conversation with your client, be nice, be smiley, smile away. Don't forget to ask about how things are. And tip number 2, move to small talk. Make small talk. As soon as you start a conversation with your client, you have to break the ice before you get down to business. This is a very common practice in the Western world. Not only the United States, most European countries would do the same thing. It's basically common practice, like I said. You have to talk about unimportant things before you get down to important things. And so this is called small talk, basically. Small talk is a little bit challenging for Eastern Europeans, I would say, for most Asian countries as well, but Western world really appreciates it. So if you learn how to make good small talk with your clients, be sure that you are going to become friends with your clients and long-term partners as well. Tip number 3 is about being polite. Of course, if you ask a native speaker about being polite, speaking English, they may not understand what you're trying to say here, because for a native speaker, the way they communicate in business is always polite. I mean, there is no such thing as polite or impolite. But for us, non-native English speakers, there are some differences. That is why if we compare, for example, if we compare business English phrase with a business Russian phrase, and they're going to be different. If you look from the English speaker's perspective, you'll see that the Russian phrase is more demanding. That is why my recommendation, do not demand, ask for things. Whenever you have to make a request, do not demand it. Do not be very imperative. Do not say, do this, or send me your email ASAP, or send me this report ASAP, do it ASAP. But instead of demanding, you ask for things. So be sure to use such phrases, such constructions as could you. Could you is the minimum you can use in order to sound polite and not demanding. You would be better off saying, would you mind? For example, would you mind me doing this? Or would you mind doing this for me? It's very common for native English speakers. However, non-native English speakers don't use these phrases a lot. Instead, they use the phrases that sound as if it's a demand. But remember, we don't demand, we ask for things. Tip number 4 for you guys is about active listening. Active listening, again, this is another technique that you should be aware of in order to succeed in your communication. So I'm going to tell you what it is. Let's say you're speaking with a native speaker, with your client, and your client is telling you something. And what are you doing at this moment when the client is speaking to you? You're standing there, right? You're standing there, and what's happening? Nothing. You're not reacting anyhow, but you have to react. And this is called active listening, actually. So whenever the client is telling you a story, you have to show him that you are involved, right? You have to show him that you are interested in what's going on and you want to know more. Active listening is not about interruptions. It's not interrupting somebody, because if you're telling me a story and if I say something, oh, really? That's interesting. Tell me more. Phrases like this are not about interruptions. Phrases like this are about active listening. By using those short phrases, I am letting you know that I am listening to you. Whatever you're saying is actually important and interesting. And by saying those phrases, I make you feel better because you understand that you are engaging and this information is useful and the person wants to talk to you because the person is listening to you actively. So active listening is something that you have to learn and practice all the time when you speak with your international clients. Final tip is about intonation. Do not speak monotonously. When you are monotonous, you sound bored. Do you want your client to think that you're not interested in what your client is saying? Do you want them to think that you're bored with the conversation? You might as well yawn. No, you don't want them to feel that way. That is why when you communicate with your clients, when you respond to their questions or comments, you have to sound interested. How can you sound interested? This is your voice. Have you noticed how I changed my voice? Yes, I did this in order to kind of change the pitch of my voice. I changed the pitch of my voice so that you change the picture, right? So the same thing when you communicate with your clients. You change the pitch of your voice. Sometimes you can go louder on some words, other words you go down with your voice. And this is how you create the feeling of the wave because it's like some of the words you pronounce them with a higher pitch while the other words go down. And this helps you to sound more engaging and not monotonous. And therefore, you sound interested. Your client understands that you are on the same page, you're happy to have this conversation, and you want to be helpful for your client. To sum up, I would like to say that those tips are useful and good not only when you communicate with clients, but also when you communicate with your colleagues or with people outside your office. It doesn't matter. Those are key tips for effective communication for work and in your daily life.